Hey folks, it's John with KGTropicals.com bringing you another episode of KG Q&A episode 2. Second one this week. Excited about that. Come in here this morning, sitting at the computer, spend a lot of time at this computer. A lot of you, when you come in this store, if you've ever been here, you walk in the door, the first thing you see is my back because I'm sitting here at the computer, handling business on the computer. So this morning I'm in here, I'm getting things ready, trying to map out my day, got a bunch of orders going out. And I said, you know what, I'm getting behind on these questions. I might as well put out a second episode for the week. So the first question comes from Jose Benelos. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, dude, but, you know, I try. I have a 43-gallon tank with 5 Peacocks and 5 Mbunas. Question is, how many more cichlids should I add to have a safe amount? Thanks for reading. Love your videos. Now, I did a video about this a while back, and I kind of put out like a baseline number that you should try to stick with when it comes to figuring out how many cichlids you can have in your tank. A lot of it has to do with the size of the fish. If you've got Venustus, that's not going to be the same as if you have a couple of Demasoni, which stay very small. So what I like to do is divide the tank gallons in half and then start from there. Now what I mean is, you got a 43-gallon tank, forget about the 3, let's just make it easy and divide 40 by 2, you got 20. That means you have room for 20 cichlids in there. Now that might seem a bit extreme, and it is if you have all Bucanodos and Fuscos and Venustus. I wouldn't even put those in a 43-gallon tank. But if you're keeping Mbunas and Peacocks, which is what you say you have, I count an Mbuna as 1. Which means you could have 20 Mbunas in your tank. It's a bit extreme. That is very much on the high side, but you can pull it off if you're ready to do your work and keep that water clean for them. It's going to be a lot of work with that many fish. With Peacocks, I like to count them as 1.5, maybe 2. Some Peacocks, like Lemon Jakes, can get up to 7 inches, so they really need to count as 2. You got some Mbunas that get that big too, so you really have to consider the fish. And if you're going to put a bunch of fish in there that get really big, you might want to stick with what you have. Or if you want to add a few more, you should be okay. Just remember, you don't want to put a Rottweiler in a crate made for a poodle. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Common sense. Don't put big fish in that tank. And, you know, you should be fine. If you're going to stick with Mbunas and Peacocks, you can maybe add 3 or 4 or 5 more. But again, stick with your maintenance. Don't let that water go scummy because your fish won't last long and you'll regret putting those extra fish in there. So, question number 2. No editing this time. I'm just doing this straight up. I'm going to botch this name again here too. But it's Joseph Ferluga. I hope I got it right. Can dwarf cichlids like GBR, German blue rams, live in a tank with bigger cichlids such as haps and peacocks? No. Don't do it. Have people done it? Probably. Would I tell you to do it? Absolutely not. The bottom line is this. German blue rams, or any rams for that matter, are just adorable little micro cichlids. For you people that get off on scientific names, Microgeophagus ramirezi. The word micro is in their name. They're tiny and they stay tiny. To put them into a tank with a bunch of aggressive, territorial African cichlids just wouldn't be fair. What I tell people with rams, which I happen to love rams, I say treat them like discus. Treat them like discus, angels. Put them in the tank with fish that you would put with discus and angels. Your community fish. You know, keep it simple, keep it easy, keep the fish smaller. Peacocks and haps, they're just too aggressive for rams. Now, I know a guy, he's a pastor. He comes up here from Richmond, Virginia. Super nice guy. I was selling him fish for a while, and he was buying discus and Africans. And I always assumed he was putting them in 2 different tanks. Well, he wasn't. I found out after he'd been here a few times and bought a bunch of fish from us that he was putting them all in the same tank, and they were living fine together. Discus and African cichlids. Now, it's unheard of, but he pulled it off. I would not tell anyone to try to do that, but he made it work. So good for him. Again, I'm hoping that the whole thing doesn't come crashing down one day, but What I'm getting at is mixing rams with African cichlids. I've heard of crazier things, but I wouldn't do it. I would stick with your rams, put them in there with things like tetras, cardinals, neons, things like that, and they should be okay. And hey, get some discus, put them in there. If you can take care of GBRs, you can take care of discus, because their water parameters are pretty much the same. So don't mix them with Africans. That would be a disaster. All right, Domhnall Sarb. I'm sorry. I hope I got it right. Hey man, I was wondering, I haven't read this question yet, by the way. I was wondering if you have some carnivorous cichlids like peacocks and haps and some herbivorous cichlids like imbunas. How do you feed them to meet the demands of both and not damage the health of any? Maybe I should have read this before I started answering, because then I could have maybe worded it a little better. But for me, it's really simple. We feed extreme. I've talked about that in other videos. The breeder that we buy our fish from, he doesn't feed one fish this and one fish that when it comes to his Africans. He feeds peewee and big fella to his Africans, all his Malawi cichlids, his Tanganyikans, Victorians, all of them. And they do really, really well. Now, it is true, peacocks and haps are carnivores, and imbunas are herbivores. There's no mistaking that. But they seem to do fine on the same food. Now, in our 240, we feed extreme, big fella. That's what we give them, and they all do really well. Now, one of the things I do, I didn't bring the can over here because I hadn't read the question. I do throw in some Cobalt Spirulina flakes. I'm a big fan of Cobalt. I really like their products, and the Spirulina flakes, I feel like that's kind of like a dessert for them. You know, I put it in there for everybody. I mean, everybody eats it. It looks like a big snowstorm in the tank. It's pretty funny. I put it in there 2-3 times a week. I got to put a lot in there because there's so many fish and so many of them are so big. But I do that just as kind of like a treat. It's not really necessary to do that. The extreme, a lot of the products by NLS, all of the manufacturers out there that manufacture food that is specifically for African cichlids, it has ingredients in it that are suitable for all Africans. Now, you might have a lot of people that completely disagree with me on that. You do have those that are adamant about a specific diet for imbunas and a specific diet for peacocks and haps, and this is why they tell you to keep them separate, because if you combine them together, then you can't separate the diet. For me, it's always worked out fine to give them all the same thing, and it's not like the fish are suffering. They're happy, they're colorful, they're vibrant, everything's great. So I'm not too picky about it. I would put the Spirulina flakes in the 240 whether there was imbunas in there or not, just as something different, you know, just to add a little something extra for them. Let's do another one, shall we? We already got a question about that. All right, this is a good one. Again, I haven't read this. Hey man, my name's Scott. I bought a big Hex tank. It has a lot of hard water film on it. I want it to be a clear frog tank. How do I get it clear? And then he put like 8 question marks, which is kind of rude, but I've tried vinegar and it worked some. Thanks. Hope you can help me, Scott. I'm just messing with you, Scott, about being rude, but man, I wish I had a good answer for you, because if you go back and watch a lot of our videos, back when we went out to Knoxville, Tennessee and bought a bunch of tanks, 500 tanks, they were all completely one big water stain is what they are. And Lisa, God bless her, she went out in that warehouse when we were first opening up, and she worked her butt off cleaning those water stains, and it did a good job, but there's still water stains galore. It's everywhere. We've tried everything. There's going to be people that are going to put in the comments their suggestions. I promise you, whatever they suggest, I've tried, and it didn't work. The only thing I have not tried is actually taking a large industrial buffer and putting something on it to try to buff that stuff out. I feel like the hard water stains, they do get to a point where there is no taking it out. It actually etches into the glass and there's no removing it. So you might as well give up. If it's something where the tank was sitting for a couple of months, you might be able to get it out of there, but good luck. We have struggled with it. One of the things that I do know, if the water stains are all on the inside of the tank, a lot of that will go away when you put water in it. It might not look absolutely perfect, but a lot of it will go away. It won't go away, it'll still be there, but you won't see it because the water will kind of, the water will make it look like it's gone. But if they're on the outside, trust me, brother, I have tried everything. I even went out and bought some of those kits that you use to refinish headlights that you put on the end of the drill and spin it around, and you put that. It didn't work. That was a waste of money. Razor blades, steel wool on a mechanical sander. I mean, white vinegar, everything we tried, and it does nothing. And what's frustrating about it is as soon as you start cleaning it off, it looks perfect because it's wet. And you're like, wow, this worked, it's beautiful. And 5 minutes later when it dries, it looks like crap again. So it's a really frustrating thing. If you would have consulted me before you bought this tank, I'd have probably told you to stay away from it because it's bad. Now, for us, most of these tanks that we bought that are full of water stains are going to be out in the warehouse. The public's not going to be out there, so it doesn't matter. They don't need to look perfect. It didn't bother us. But Lisa did spend a lot of time, weeks, cleaning 56 20 longs, which are actually right behind me, the orange and the blue ones. She did a great job, but there still is a lot of water stains on there, and there's nothing that can be done about it. So, good old elbow grease, give it your best shot, and hope for the best. But it might not work out for you. So that's going to be that. I think we're, at about 11 minutes now. I don't want to go any farther. I'm pretty proud of myself. I made it through the whole thing without stopping or editing or anything like that. This is a lot of fun, folks. If you want to get in on these questions, email your questions to kgqanda@gmail.com. Right here is the email address. Somebody asked me, do I send it to the email address or do I put it in the comment section? I can't say it enough times. Email the questions to kgqanda@gmail.com. I'd be happy to answer them. I don't know if I'll be able to get all of them, but I'm going to try. I'm having fun with this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.